Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining another masterclass. I'm very happy to be your host today, especially for the topic that we're going to talk about this time. The emotional stages of an immigrant, how important this is, how complicated and how fascinated at the same time this topic is. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to discover many things about yourself and all the process that you've been going through during your journey. So, without further ado, let's get it started. So, for those who don't know me, let me introduce myself. I'm Diana Tapia, and I'm the founder of the Worldwide Immigrants Association, and I'm a certified transition strategist. I'm Mexican, and I have been living in Canada since 2011. I'm an only child, and I'm very, very introverted, even if you don't think that I am. However, I love traveling, I love languages, and I also love learning all about other cultures. I find that our differences and the things that we have in common are just fascinating. This is my mom, and as you can see, she's a woman out of this world. She's fun, adventurous, and loves traveling. She lives in Mexico, and I can't lie to you. It has been hard to be far from each other, and our relationship has sometimes been a bit complicated. But it's just because the distance makes all kinds of relationship harder. Of course, we're planning for her to move here forever, but in the meantime, she tries to come as often as she can and enjoys being on vacation every time she's here. And I also try to go there every year. I'm a lawyer. I used to work at the Mexican Supreme Court, but then I came to study French to Canada for 6 months. And then when I went back to Mexico and went back to my old life, I started feeling homesick of Canada. So there's where I found that I really wanted to go somewhere else to live other things. And I started all my process to migrate. And finally, on April the 1st, 2011, I officially arrived in Canada as a permanent resident with no friends, no family, no job, nothing, just like many of you did. This is my dog, and her name is Milad, and I brought her with me since I moved here, and she has been my biggest companion since day one. This is my first job. Well, no, it was actually my second job. My first one was in a boutique where I never got paid. But even if that was very shocking, that made me realize that I needed to apply to jobs where I actually could use my experience and my knowledge, of course. So finally, after 6 months, I found a job in this wonderful company as an executive assistant. But I made it very clear for them that I wanted more. And most importantly, that I was able to bring more value to their company. So 6 months after, I got promoted into my own department with my own team, creating international partnerships with airlines and entertainment companies all around the world. And it was very fun. I had to travel a lot. The first international event that I had to attend was in Chile, Santiago. And I will never forget that I have to borrow these shoes that you see in the picture and a small suitcase because I didn't have the appropriate stuff. I met my now husband in that same job, not in that event, but in that job that I'm telling you about. His name is Mark, and he's French Canadian. We became friends about 1 year after I arrived at that company. And then 3 years after, we started dating. And we got married in 2015. And he has been listening to all my complaints about the weather and about the food and many other things since then. In the same year we got married, we decided to buy this house. And on our first wedding anniversary, he gave me Layla as a gift. And while all this was happening, many immigrant friends and immigrant people I met occasionally are started asking me how I did it. How come I was able to adapt myself to my new life so easily? How was I able to find that beautiful job that I had? How was I able to like start my life like if I didn't leave anything back? So I became so passionate about helping others that I started volunteering for different organizations as a mentor, showing people how to create a CV or how to make it through an interview, but also how to deal with homesickness and all this transition that we all go through, which is very complicated sometimes. And well, to make the story shorter, that's why I got certified as a personal and professional coach and specialized in transition and at one of the most important universities in Canada. But you know what? It wasn't enough yet for me. So suddenly, out of a crazy impulse, I decided to quit my job and work 100% on the things that really matter to me and I wanted to do, which is helping immigrants around the world succeed on their new lives. So that's why I founded the Worldwide Immigrants Association. And I'm telling you all this for you to know that I've also gone through an awful lot of changes myself. And some of those haven't been that easy either. But you know what? I've loved every experience. So for you, and for instance, let me tell you this. I want you to know that if I was able to do it, you can do it too. So let's start with understanding what the word change means. Here is the definition. It says to make or become different, to take or to use another instead of. Okay, so this is the definition out of the dictionary. And the fact is that change makes us feel uncomfortable, frustrated, out of our place. And the more we focus on those feelings, the overwhelm increases. Change also represents a loss. And that is exactly why it is so hard to accept it. Even Joseba Achotegui, a Spanish psychiatrist and psychotherapist, said that the grieving process of every immigrant is much stronger than that of a person who lost a loved one. Imagine that. It's harder for us immigrants to go through this change and to go through this grieving process than that of a person who lost a loved one. And the thing is that when you lose a family member, all your supporting system, all your friends, family, and the people who love you stay around you. When you migrate, you get uprooted from your space and start living new experiences and speaking other languages and learning other things without that supporting system. And life goes on for them, and we get to miss all those special moments. So it is actually like if we were losing our life to the starting of our times. Becoming an immigrant means to leave the comfort of a stable life, to immediately immerse yourself in a whole new world where circumstances, schedules, even the language are different. So this is why it is so important for us to understand the emotional stages we have to go through and learn how to do this transition as successful as possible. Let me just start by saying that these stages that we will see in a couple of minutes are those that are experienced in a normal immigration process, a process in which we decided to move somewhere else by ourselves with all the legalities that it implies, and not because we were running away from a terrible situation like a disaster or war or economic conflicts. or irregular situations that put our lives in danger. These cases are absolutely different, and the people who live these situations have to be treated in a very different way. In most cases, these people need psychological assistance, even clinical assistance. So, this being said, here I present you the 4 main stages of culture shock: honeymoon, anxiety, adjustment, and acceptance. Let's start with the honeymoon. The honeymoon stage is where everything is new and excitement. Everything is different, and instead of making us feel frustrated, it makes us feel renovated, a whole new adventure. This is where we start dreaming about our life, the people we are going to meet, the places we're going to visit, the new lifestyle we're going to have, our new language. If we were not able to go out for a run in the country that we are from, now we think all about all the kilometers we're going to run once we are going to be there. And we spend hours and hours going through fixing all the paperwork for a process, which makes us feel tired, but at the same time, it's a real confirmation that that our life is about to change. When we are in love, our brain starts releasing dopamine and noradrenaline and endorphins, all these chemicals that make us giddy, energetic, and euphoric. They can even decrease your appetite, provoke insomnia, which means that we can actually be so in love with our migration process that we cannot sleep and we cannot eat. Our pituitary gland, which is here, drastically increases our cortisol levels. We get racing heart, sweaty palms, flushed cheeks. We feel passionate about this new adventure, but we also feel a little bit anxious. At the same time, there is no other topic to talk about than this, our move to another country. We are in contact with our families and our friends back in our countries very often. We call them or chat with them every day, and we tell them how exciting was our day and all the new things that we learned. We have many topics of conversation. I remember that when I arrived here in Canada, it was April, so there was still some snow. And of course, I didn't know it was still very cold at that moment and didn't bring enough clothes. However, I loved going out smelling the cold. You know, it smelled like when you open the freezer and you put your face inside and you smell it like that. That smell is the same smell of April or March, February, January, December, November. But it was super fun for me. I recommend that in this stage, you use all your energy to finish all the paperwork that you may need. This means getting all your official documents, like your social security number, your medical card, and other IDs. Check out universities or schools in case you want to study something or even enroll in a language program, which is absolutely necessary if you know the language very well or if you want to improve it. Knowing the language will definitely be of great help for your development. Try and attend in-person networking events to start socializing with other people. Obviously, try and find people who migrated from your own country, but also try to push yourself and socialize with locals, because that will show you many things about their real lifestyle, their customs, their habits, and the way that they behave with others, etc. This is also the best moment for you to find a job if you don't have one yet, or to volunteer in a nonprofit organization, because all your enthusiasm will be there, where it needs to be. And believe me or not, it matters a lot. Recruiters, for example, really pay attention to that. Even if it's not your first experience, it is very important that you look for it immediately. So the companies you apply for can see that you are ready to start committing to a new life and to a new society. Of course, and this is very important, find a nice place and a comfortable place to live where you feel secure and at home. So the second stage is the anxiety stage. Here's where we're going to start feeling a bit frustrated and even uncomfortable with our everyday life. Those things that we loved and at the beginning, the new life, the new people, the new system, the new job, start making us feel like we were carrying a big rock on our shoulders. We will start comparing everything. The weather was better at home, the food was better at home, the people were better at home, and little by little, the place that we left voluntarily results to be the ideal place, and we start an internal fight with ourselves. On the one side, we want to go back. On the other side, we want to stay. A lot of people suffer a lot during this stage, which can turn into an adaptive disorder. So, what's an adaptive disorder? The adaptive disorder is an alteration in the process of adaptation, which generates an excessive emotional reaction. It is not exclusive for those who change countries. You can also experience it when you lose your job or change your job, or like whenever you have a drastic change in your life. Even when you get married or get divorced, or whatever thing or reason that you suffered a change or loss, you may feel or have this adaptive disorder. So here is, I wanted to show you a list of the symptoms of the adaptive disorder, but please, please, if you are feeling some or one of these, that doesn't mean necessarily that you have this disorder. However, knowing them will help you check with yourself how you're doing and to ask for help if things get more complicated. And what could be more complicated than this? Well, this could turn into a depression. So let's make a comparison between these two. So here are the differences. For the adaptive disorder, there is always a reason for the one set of the disorder. For the depression, there may not be a trigger for the appearance. On the adaptive disorder, all symptoms of depression may not occur. On the depression, the depression can be caused by the absence of chemicals at the brain level. The adaptive disorder appears in the first 3 months and doesn't last for more than 6. So pay attention to that as well. In the case of depression, it may appear surprisingly and may be chronic. So please check in with yourself and all the time. And if you ever feel unwell, or if you feel like you're not at your 100% and there is something that is aching here in your heart, in your soul, run to a specialist and ask for help, please. This is very important. The third stage is the adjustment. So the storm finally fades, but there are still some showers here and there. However, we start gaining more clarity. You start noticing that you feel way less anxious than you felt before, and you feel more confident in the everyday life. As the name says, in this stage, you will find yourself adjusting to things, not only for your new life, but for yourself as well. However, I want you to be extremely careful because there are things that you have to pay attention on. Please don't do the same thing that others did because it worked for them. So Getting a job at the supermarket because all immigrants start from the bottom, or investing in a business that worked very well for a friend might not necessarily be the best option for you. Think always about yourself and what you want to achieve in your future. And don't compare yourself to others. Never, please never compare yourself to others. If that other immigrant is super successful and you haven't been able to reach your goals yet, check on the things that you've been doing and create a better strategy. And remember that we all have our own times. So if it happened to him or her, it hasn't happened for you, that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Just give it some time, redirect, and check on the things that you've been doing and see if you have to do something differently. Then finally, we arrive to the acceptance, the last stage. In this stage, we usually start taking more permanent decisions, like if I leave or I stay. If ever you choose to leave and go back to your country, do it having accepted that this life in another country was not the best for you. But it definitely helped you develop many other strengths that you didn't have before. So please, instead of feeling like a loser or feeling like something that like everything went bad, no, in the opposite, it went very well because you have this experience of having lived in another country and you were brave enough to try it. So feel proud of yourself and happy for being able to go back to your family and to your friends. If you decide to stay, then do it with a strong conviction of making things work for you. You will struggle sometimes, yes, that is completely normal, but most of the time you will feel more solid and grounded. You'll realize that you already have a nice circle of friends. You already know how to move around the city you live in. You're starting getting more responsibilities in your working place, and you might even be discussing some good initiatives with your boss. Finally, you start to build a more realistic life, and you easily realize those things that you want in your life and those that you no longer want. You're actually enjoying more and more. So as you can see here, we went through the main 4 stages, but actually there are a lot others that we necessarily have to go through. And even if we don't want to, or even if we don't pay attention to it, we can go up and down in our transition several times. It doesn't mean that after 5 years or after 10 years, we're going to be there in the top of the mountain, in the thrive, in the acceptance and thrive position. No, it can be like some days we can be here and sometimes we can be here again in the honeymoon and like that. It's a roller coaster for us. Okay, so I already explained all about the stages, but what do I do then? What can I do to immerse myself, to adapt myself in an easier way? First of all, please analyze and discover what's causing this fear. If you're feeling mortified, or if you're feeling that everything is super challenging for you, check and discover what is causing this fear. That is very important. Don't feel threatened by change. Embrace it. That tiredness of and the confusion will disappear when you let go and stop resisting. Remember to flow. Trust your strengths. Trust. If you decided to move to another country, that means that deep inside you, you knew you would make things happen and that you are able to overcome any challenge that you have in your path. Do things the right way. If you decided to take a temporary job while you find something better, do your job in the best way possible and use it as a trampoline to arrive where you really want to be. So never forget to do things the right way. Accept that your new life is just like this, simple. And we have to remember, we are not the only ones who have gone through all these changes and challenges. We won't be the last ones. At the end, migration has existed since the beginning of the times, so it isn't really a big deal. Connect with the people, create a new supporting system, ask for help. Asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. The responsibility of your happiness is yours. If you decided to migrate by yourself, if you decided to migrate with your family, your friends, your boyfriend or girlfriend, whoever, remember that you are the only one who's responsible of creating a happy, successful life. And lastly, think, feel, and act as the successful, self-confident, and wonderful person you already are. I hope this will help you a lot, that it will inspire you to get going for your dreams now that you know more about yourself and all the process that you've been going through during this time. Thank you so much for joining, and see you the next time.